Sonic the Hedgehog, the fastest thing alive, the blue blur himself, is what you get when Sega finally decides to put on their big boy pants and begins to compete with Nintendo's top dog. Alright fellas, we need a new character to help launch our newest system. So I'm just gonna ask around the office if anyone has any... What the f*** is that? How are people supposed to draw porn of this in 15 years? Get this shit out of here! Nah. Now this is what I'm looking for. How you doing, everyone? It's me, Metaklang. And I've been dead for a while. This isn't Toho! Sonic the Hedgehog, released on the Sega Genesis in 1991, was born to be Sega's ticket to success. His fast-paced and attitude-riddled action was the perfect combatant for Nintendo's Mario, who, at the time, had the personality of white bread. Slap on some Michael Jackson shoes, color them like Santa Claus, give him a personality inspired by Bill Clinton. No, I'm not joking about that. And Sega had the mascot they always dreamed of. Alright, what are we naming him?
Well, originally, sir, we had the name Mr. Needlemouse picked out for this character.
And you're fired! Sonic shot Sega's new system into major popularity, with over 23 million sales worldwide. Created mostly by Yuji Naka, the man who would later give us this. It's killing me! It's killing me! Sonic became an icon in the early 90s, and would go on to be one of the most recognizable characters in pop culture. Players control Sonic the Hedgehog, a coked up animal that can run at supersonic speeds and tear through baddies by rolling into a spiky ball of death, all while trying to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik from turning all the animal creatures that live on the planet into robots. The gameplay is fast paced in and of itself, with players always pushing to see how fast this little fella can actually move. Most levels are designed with this in mind, giving you loop-de-loops and slopes to build momentum, enemies placed in spots where you can bounce off each one without losing speed. As long as you remember the layout of the level and keep charging true, you can blast through stages with ease. For the most part, anyway. Because all good things have to come to an end, and believe me, I'll be blaming Marble Zone for my erectile dysfunction until the day I die. Green Hill Zone, the first and most iconic level in Sonic history. And for good reason. This level does a perfect job at conveying the speed of this game, and makes good use of all his abilities. With loops, tubes, and secrets all scattered around the stage, Green Hill Zone is a great level, and to this day still holds up. The stage is more or less divided into 3 paths, with the top areas being the quickest way to the finish line, since these areas are most difficult to access, and the game rewards you for reaching these parts, and the bottom areas being the slowest for people who suck, like Max. Max, I know you're watching this, go f*** yourself. After all 3 acts of the stage, you're greeted with a boss encounter with Dr. Robotnik himself, and after slapping him around the place a few times with a wet noodle, you progress to the next stage. Oh boy, I sure do love this fast-paced action of Green Hill Zone. I wonder what awaits me in the next area. Looks like I'm having a bath with my best friend. In an interview, Yuji Naka stated that Marble Hill was a breath of air and a moment to slow down after all the action of Green Hill. I'm sorry, but does this look like I'm relaxing? I hate this stage with a passion, and I know a lot of people do as well. For a second stage to be designed to slow you down in a game meant to go fast is really jarring, and it completely upsets the momentum of the game for me, figuratively and literally, as well as the fact the stage isn't exactly the easiest. In my opinion, the stage after it, Spring Yard Zone, ends up being much easier in comparison. Hey, at least the music's good. I mean, heck, all the music in this game is good, and it still holds up to this day. I mean, who in their right mind could say they love playing video games and not have this stuck in the back of their brain rent-free? From Starlight Zone to Spring Yard Zone, though it may not be as iconic as the titular Green Hill Zone, this game's music is pretty damn good. Speaking of which, Spring Yard Zone is next, and I mean it's okay. Decently simple, but has some areas that can be difficult, and a final boss that can be very annoying or insanely easy depending on who you ask. Also, I'd like to just point out that out of all the zones in this game, this one is definitely weird. I mean, with the other zones, you can make the argument that they all take place somewhere in Sonic's world. They can at least make sense in the end. But a spring yard? Is this where Robotnik throws all the springs and bumpers he's not using? Sonic the Hedgehog 5. Now a playable landfill zone. Next is Labyrinth Zone. I mean, do I have to say anything? It's a f***ing water level! Arguably one of the worst water levels in Sonic history. Comparing this with the other water levels of the Genesis Sonic era, such as the fast-paced Chemical Plant Zone and Hydrocity Zone, this is an absolute drag! Trying to platform and dodge hazards all the while you're trying to f***ing not drown, it doesn't look great on paper. This sucks! I can hold off a lot of my criticisms since this is technically the first water-based Sonic stage, but boy oh boy is it universally hated. Oh well, hopefully the next zone can make up for it. Yeah! What a breath of fresh air after all the zones before. Starlight Zone comes in clutch to redeliver all that fast-paced action Sonic is known for. The zone of course has its slow moments, but it's a far cry from the previous levels. Overall, it's just a fun zone. And I love the boss since it's an implementation of the seesaw mechanic used in the level prior. Well, that sure was fun. What's next? Boy, I wasn't expecting to have 2 washes today. Scrap Brain Zone is merciless. This zone will beat you to the ground and kick you while you're down. Bottomless pits without any warnings, and platforms that sweep from under you to drop you to your death. This zone is painful to get through. Oh yeah, also, welcome back to Labyrinth Zone! The final boss is easy. Just thought I'd put that out there. Uh-oh, looks like you forgot to get all the Chaos Emeralds. Now you have the bad ending! You silly Billy! Everyone knows you have to collect 50 rings, and by the end of the stage, you unlock the special stage by jumping through the big ring and traversing this absolute psychedelic hellscape! And that's Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Boy, what a game. To be fair, the game holds up really well. The difficulty in this one is much higher compared to the other Genesis era Sonic games. And although some zones can feel like CBT, and sometimes the game doesn't want to play nice with you, the game is still relatively fun. You can definitely tell that Sega was trying something outside of their comfort zone with this one, but they definitely found their footing when it came to the sequel. Speaking of which, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a masterpiece of a platformer, and I will not hear otherwise.